Hi, and welcome to Across the Deck. This week, got a special episode I want to talk about, as the 1st of April coming up here pretty soon. During the week of this show is called Census Day. So, for the purposes of this show, it's going to be Census Week. So, for Census Week, we're going to talk about the importance of the 2020 census and why everyone in your household needs to be counted. First, I'd like to say the U.S. Census that we do every 10 years, it's mandatory. They can't get out of it. It's encoded in our Constitution here, and you can read about it right there that the census is to be taken every 10 years, and it is in our Constitution. This is very important. The census is so important. It's so important to us on a federal level, state level, and local level. It depends on our funding. It depends on roads, schools, uh, nursing homes depend on it. Rural hospitals depend on it. Our representation, state, local, and federal, is determined by it. We can actually lose representation if we don't actually report the proper amount of people we have. If we underreport, we're not going to have the representation we should have. We're also not going to get the monies delineated that should go to different districts that aren't counted. It's also very important too that you are counted properly and that you count everybody. And that's what we're going to go on further in this show today about. Now, several of you may have been getting mailers in there. They look kind of like this. I got it right here, this one here for you guys to see. It's got a, tells you about the census and how important it is and that we all get counted and that April 1st is Census Day. This is important on so many levels, like I was just saying. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, hey, if you should have got one, you should be getting a letter in the mail too with some information on how to log in and verify all your information and the people living with you. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen. This is actually the first page you come to when you go to my2020census.gov. Now, it tells you about, hey, how to get started, what it all does. Just like I said, hey, man, these funds are determined for schools, roads, and other public surfaces, and our representation. This matters on so many different levels. Another thing I want to point out, I already filled out mine for my household. Went online. One thing I noticed is I live in a metro area. I don't actually live in Oklahoma City, but my zip code is shared with it, so when it came across, it came up Oklahoma City. This is important to note. Even though you may say, I'm in the metro area, Oklahoma City's okay, that's the address that always works for me anyway, even though I don't technically live in Oklahoma City, I'm in a suburb of it, its own city itself. Like if you live like, hey, I know Oklahoma City's across the street, but I'm in Del City here, it says Oklahoma City on it. Well, you need to change that. It's really important that you are counted in the proper municipality that you actually reside in, because it depends on that municipality's level of representation and funding for the schools, the roads, public works, water, sewer. Everything's affected by that. So if you're not counted in the right municipality, that money will go to the other municipality and you will miss out on it. So it's very important to look through the information, make sure it is all correct. Make sure that it says drive instead of place. Make sure everything's right, like down to where the city you live in. It's that important. I had to change mine to make sure I was counted in the place I live in, that it didn't say Oklahoma City, because it really is that important that we get counted properly, and that everyone's counted in this census that we're taking for 2020. Now, there are a few ways to participate in the census. One, you should have probably gotten a letter that looked kind of like this, something I got. And in it, you will have, tell you the website to go to, of course, my2020census.gov, and you will have your own personal ID to log in when you get in there. So you'll log into it, and then it'll come up with information, so you can put in the information of those in your household, how old they are, and their type of ethnicity, or where their origins came from: English, Scottish, Irish, Italian, whatever. So there's that, and then you fill it out, You don't have to put in social security numbers or anything like that, and then you hit submit. It really takes about 5 to 10 minutes to fill this out online. And if that doesn't work for you, there is an 800 number going across the screen here. You'll see it, the 800 number. You can call the census people so that you can do it that way if you wish. You could actually request them to come to your house, and this is what we need to do. Everybody needs to participate and make sure everyone is counted. This is important, and it even points this out. Hey, do they live with you? Count them. Whoever they are. Newborn babies, count them. If they're in the military and you're your son who's 19, but you're their main address even though they're there, count them too. Everybody gets counted. If they're boarders, count them. If they're homeless and they're staying with you for extended time, count them. You gotta count them. If they're exchange students, count them. If they live in your household, count them. That's the point, and that's the point they want to get across for the census. Everybody needs to be counted. It's really that important. Now, there are some important things to note when you do it online. There is a 15-minute time limit. It shouldn't take you more than 7 to fill it out anyway. But you can't just start a session and then just leave it. It'll log you out, and then you got to start all over again. And there's no going back once you started, so please be sure you got about 10 minutes available to complete this, because you can't go back and just start where you left off. You're going to have to start all over. So it's important that if you do it that way, that you have the 7 to 10 minutes to fill it out, and it doesn't take you more than 15. And it really shouldn't take you that long to do it. It's a real simple and easy process. You just fill it out, some names, putting in some birthdays, and that's pretty much it, and naming some origins of where they're from. And that's all you really got to do. Hit submit, it goes to the federal government, and they count you. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is that we are all counted, because it really depends on a lot of things that we get. It depends on, like I said, school funding. It depends on our roads. It depends on our representation. It depends on our infrastructure and our utilities. It is really, really that important, and I can't stress it enough, and I'm probably going to say it over and over again. It's important. You need to be counted. Everyone needs to be counted in your household. Count them. Now I got another item here I'd like to show you, the instructions page. So here's some instructions if you go to the website and do it that way. Of course, if you dial in and call them, it'll be different. You'll just have to do what they tell you on the phone, and you'll do that process. But if you're going to do it online, here's some instructions. Please be over 15. Changing responses. If you got to rechange, please don't go forward or backwards. Use the buttons within the website itself. And there are, like I said, the time limits, and then there's the help with the questions and how to submit the questionnaire when you're done. So, there you go. The Census 2020, it's on. We do it every 10 years. It delineates how much money we get from the federal government. It delineates how much state funds we get from the state government, because that's where they go to see all these statistics. Where are they going to go? We're going to pull the census information to see where we need to help rural hospitals, to see where we need to help nursing homes, to see where we need to help schools, rural schools, where we need to help infrastructure out, utilities, sanitary sewer, water, electricity, all that stuff. Special funding for seniors, anything else that we need. It tells us of our population and how it's growing and how it isn't, and what things can be used and where resources can best be stored. And all importantly, it depends upon our representation. This tells you how many wards you're going to have in a particular municipality, and how many representation and how many representatives you're going to get on a city council. It also tells you how many representatives we're going to have at the state level, and they draw out their districts based on that. Also, federal government, we do the same thing for the House of Representatives. They have a whole calculation in the Constitution as to how we're represented, and they look at the census data to determine that. So Census Week, everybody, be sure you're counted. That's what this week's all about. You'll be seeing a lot of it, not just from me. Hopefully see more of it out there, because we want everybody to be counted, and we want them to be counted by April 1st. And that's okay. You can do it all year, but really this is the week to really get your data in there to the government so they can count everybody, and we can know where to send resources, and we can know where to get people represented. And don't worry, it's very safe and secure. They've got your information, there's laws on the privacy of it all, and how it's to be published and how it's to be used. And it is really, really that important that everybody is counted. We need to do this, and we need to really understand why, and that's why I'm doing this episode for Census Week. So everybody, please sign up for the 2020 census. Get your information in there, be counted, so everybody in our society can benefit from that. Thank you for watching. This is Kit Fairchild with Across the Desk. We'll see you next week.